Beforehand. Beautiful. Well, we're definitely recording, and we're probably live streaming right now. This is a really good system. This Riverside. Have
Okay.
you used Riverside before?
No, I haven't.
Really good. We used to record our podcast on Zoom, and looks great quality when you're doing it, but then the recording was never quite as good. This
Yeah.
thing preserves all the quality of the audio and the video, so there's a
Yeah.
noticeable difference between since we started using this. So the content we'll make for you will be much better. Anyway, we'll get into it, and I'll do a little intro for you. Welcome back to the Coaches to the Moon podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joined today by Martina Rios. She's a purpose-driven, transformational life coach. She guides her clients on how to reconnect with themselves, how to break through limits, and live a more fulfilling life. She's also moving into some amazing forms of coaching I haven't heard about before. So we're going to get into them today, straight out of the Gold Coast in Queensland. Martina, ahoy.
Hi.
Or guten Morgen.
What's that?
Oh, you're from Switzerland, yeah?
Yeah, I'm from Switzerland, but my parents are Czechoslovakian, so yeah.
They're Czech. I was
Yeah.
researching how to say hello in both those
Yes,
languages.
I know. You just got me. I'm like, how do you know?
Do you speak German or French in Switzerland?
Both. So I learned, yeah, both languages. But you
That's
lose
such a
it all
blessing.
when you're in Australia. So
I know. It's such a for a very multicultural country. All my friends are just white people from England, basically. It's so
yeah,
funny. I feel like when I lived in England, I had such a more diverse group of people because England was just this melting pot. And I live on the beaches of Australia. You live at the beach in the Gold Coast. There's
yeah.
a lot of travelers though. Are you is there much of a Swiss community in
Look,
Australia?
I've never sort of seen myself really as a Swiss person, so it's not
Okay.
something I'm seeking out at all. I've been in Australia for 17 years, so I look at myself quite multicultural.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've only been to the Gold Coast for 6 months, so and we came
Oh,
out of COVID. Yeah.
how are you liking it?
Yeah, good. There's a great entrepreneurial community up here. A lot of women in business, which is great to network with, and just a bit more chilled out than Sydney.
100%. Don't get me started on Sydney. It's even where I am on the northern beaches, it's a pretty relaxing area, but there's just still at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. There's traffic, people honking
Yeah,
horns,
yeah,
go to the shops on a Saturday, you can't move. It's an interesting thing. So I think moving to a beach further and further away is always a good thing. And the power of the internet can get us there. So that's amazing. Well,
yeah.
I wanted to talk about your business today because I think it's a really, really interesting
Okay.
coaching business because there's some forms of coaching I've never really heard about. And when I looked at your website and your socials, I was kind of struck by how many different skills and modalities you seem to have as a coach and how diverse your sort of audience can be, your demographic, people you can help. Can we talk about first some of the things that you offer, starting with two that I've never heard of in my life: systemic coaching and constellation therapy. Can you
Yeah,
break those down for us?
yeah, absolutely. So systemic coaching is something that I'm getting more into now because I acknowledge that a lot of the traditional coaching is focusing just on going inside and obviously doing the self-development and personal development. And we talk about the ripple effect on your external world, that if you improve, everything around you will improve as a result. So systemic coaching though looks a little bit more into how we actually are operating in a systems. Now, what are systems? Like a family is a system, a community is a system, your business is a system. And so within those systems, there is hidden loyalties, there's energetic bonds, and so it's about shifting some emotional attachment that you can't necessarily do with just traditional coaching, where we really more work on the mental level.
Okay, that's super interesting. So,
I hope that makes sort of sense.
well, I'm going to unpack a little more because it's
Yeah.
beginning to make sense. So,
Yeah.
what I can totally appreciate is that like just the concept of if you work on yourself and if you get up and have cold showers and read heaps of books and do lots of work on yourself, then you're going to fix everything in your life. But if you're in a pretty sort of toxic environment, or you come from a community where traditionally most people don't really develop themselves, they get out. Maybe inner city places in America is where I'm feeling like the really low income places where people are struggle to pull themselves out. I suppose, yeah, just traditional coaching, working on yourself in that environment, sometimes can actually, I suppose, isolate you from the people around you even more. So you're trying to fix that by helping people work on their systems.
Yeah, look, I think there is two applications to this. There's the systemic coaching approach, which is really a lot more hands-on and practical, which is mainly used in business because, as you know, like in business, there is a lot of in teams and there's a lot of, unresolved dynamics, and they need to be kind of dealt with collectively. Because if you just, fix one person, that doesn't necessarily gonna fix the culture of the company or the challenges. So that's more a systemic approach. To give you an example, so the constellation work, originally the family constellation work that I do, is a lot more a psychodynamic therapeutic approach, and it taps into transgenerational trauma. So often when you look at people, they might have problems to hold a relationship, and that might be subconsciously linked to maybe how your family system influenced you. You might have a really close bond to your mother because your dad wasn't there and you stepped up as the replacement figure. So it's about letting go of those dynamics that we're sometimes not aware of to free ourselves from these patterns. Another example is, for example, abuse is very often stays in the family and gets repeated, and it gets passed down. Certain traumas get passed down over generations. And the reason why they do is because there's something called epigenetics. Have you heard about that?
No, you're using a lot of words: psychodynamic, epigenetics.
Yeah, look, I'm a
Uh,
psychology and counseling student, so
yeah, no, I don't know many of these words. Talk to me about epigenetics.
yeah. So epigenetics is the part in the genes that is kind of molded. So that's the part that can be muted, and that's where like things like trauma can be passed on over generations. So you look at, for example, indigenous trauma, that gets through generation passed on, and then it shows up in people as anxiety, as depression, and these people might sometimes live in a very safe and happy environment, but it shows up and it's expressed. And this is because emotions do deposit in your body. And why I brought that back into my coaching for those clients that want to do the work is because sometimes to really shift the client on a mental level, they need to let go of something that's emotionally connected to them. So it's a rapid way of helping to shift people some emotional attachment that doesn't serve them. So then when you're doing the whole cognitive behavioral therapeutic core beliefs, reprogramming of thought patterns, you're not constantly going against that blockage. Does that make sense?
Wow. Why it's beginning to? Yeah, that's really, really cool. And I can totally see why that would be so important for a lot of people. Like I've recently had two daughters myself, twin daughters, right? And I can see my parenting style very quickly replicated my dad's parenting style, which was kind of, not bad, just like, up you get, stop crying, that sort of thing. Like, you'll be right. And then my wife is a teacher,
Yeah.
and the way she hangs out with like her mum and her dad is so different to me and my parents. And
Yeah.
she's got a much softer approach with them, and so I wouldn't, I had to pull myself up a few times on the way I parent my kids, because I can
Yeah.
see how behavior can absolutely be transgenerational.
Yeah.
And but I know that that thing about indigenous cultures, that's super interesting because
Yeah.
we see so much here in Australia. like the English people came in and really messed up a lot of stuff for the Aboriginal people what 200 years ago, and now that we're still seeing that people being born into trauma that
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
6 generations away. So is what sort of people are you working with in this systemic coaching and family constellation therapy?
Yeah. Um, so far, look, my business is focused on women, and women tend to be more open to, work on themselves and also release emotions. Um, I guess I like it's mostly people that are kind of they know they're attached emotionally maybe to an ex-husband, or there is something that's unresolved that they're carrying from themselves from childhood. And let's be honest, like we all have a little bit of some sort of childhood trauma, and it's just not, it's just not necessarily it's going to impact everyone the same thing. And for some people, it is really, a lot going on. So it's something that people just, they come to me, they find me for this because it's kind of an energetic thing. Um, and it's just something that I started adding into my coaching. And I think coaching is a lot about, you bring in, because you evolve as a person, right? So it's a combination of life experience, maturity, obviously psychological concepts and application and integration. Because, like you said, just reading a book doesn't mean that you're going to change, because if you're not knowing how to integrate the actual and live through the challenges and resolve those things, um, you're not really going to be able to initiate change. And I think that's where, like my business is always fluid where I'm at as a person as well, right? In that sense. So my programs will always, be adaptable in the sense, have little improvements the way I'm, developing myself.
Well, I think that's hugely necessary in uh, your personal life and your business life, right?
Yeah.
Just being adaptable, knowing when something's no longer working, and
Yeah.
sometimes one shift in the business can be the thing that makes the business, or sometimes you think it's going to be great, and then it actually takes you down a path you don't want to, and you got to
Yeah.
circle back. But it's all a test until you do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Business is all about personal development, right? Because I mean, just your mindset, where's your
Yeah,
mindset?
I
And
think in a sense it's all about personal development, and this is
yeah,
when I'm kind of like a bit of an anti-coach in some of these spaces. In that I went through like lots of life coaching and did a lot of the work. I've done NLP and timeline therapy and
yeah, yeah,
did everything I thought I was supposed to do. But the more when I thought I was at my most personally developed, doing all the stuff, all the morning routines, reading all the books and the journaling and kind of stop drinking alcohol and stuff, that's I was actually pretty broke at the time. I had like nothing going on in business. Now I'm kind of just focused on the actual business. I've probably got the remnants of the work I did, then combined with like a family life and an extra sort of 7 years of
yeah,
quote maturity on top, and my business is in the best place it's been. And I feel like it's structural, but without doing the work, if I was still who I was when I was a 22-year-old chef,
yeah,
I wouldn't be able to run this business.
yeah.
So what have you seen change in yourself, and what are the main pieces of yourself you feel you've had to work on since you've been scaling your own business?
Um, I think just really it's a lot about getting smarter in the approach of marketing, and what has worked. Look, I definitely think having someone like a good mentor or a coach that has walked, but really has can show you results is easier, because then you don't have to go and do everything yourself and test and trial. At the same time, I don't believe in just, there's a lot of people out there that have strategies and just a copy paste application doesn't work either, because it's your business. You have a unique personality. And I talk when with business, it needs to be energetically aligned, because like most people in the coaching space are there to make a positive impact because they find purpose in it, and also because they want to live a certain lifestyle. And so the business needs to suit all those factors in a way. And for that, you need to be energetically aligned to the daily tasks and things. So I always go like, you know, if I notice a certain strategy doesn't drains me energetically, then I go like, nah, that's not it, because it's not sustainable, right? It needs to be kind of sustainable for me on that level, because I mean, I need to show up for my clients as my best, so I don't have time to have it, have all those tasks on the side that drain me. But still, you just need to find the golden thread that just works for you, and for that, you're just gonna have to sometimes try a few different things.
Yeah, 100%. I think just letting go of things that don't feel good. Obviously, there's some things in business you got to do that don't feel good,
Yeah,
like, you know, taxes, you know.
of
But
course.
when you get to a certain point, it's good to be able to delegate them. Do you have a team or anyone that you delegate stuff to that you don't like, or
Yeah,
you just
but
cut it out of the business?
I have a VA. Look, I'm pregnant, so I have till the end of the year to put a few more things into place, because really what I've done a lot focusing on this year is to go like from the point, where do I want my business, like what amount of money do I want to, how can I structure my business so it's as much automated, but I kind of have different programs for my high-end one-on-one clients. I have my more automated programs, so they complement each other. And especially as a woman, when you have kids, or you have, or I know you have family too, but it needs to kind of fit into it, because I also left the corporate world in order not to burn out again, right? So, and it's very easy to just give more back to your business. Like, you have to take it from like, where do you actually want to be, and then start putting in these strategies in this sense. So yeah, like, I think having someone on board who can take all that stuff that's time consuming and frustrating, those are first things, and really focus on the things that you have more fun doing, and that that's like your, where you shine through, right? Whether that's public speaking, whether that's like um social media, whether that's like whatever that is, right? Doing courses and things like that. But even with social media, you do not need to be everywhere. Like, the business, like, there's people that are successful just through mouth to word referrals, right? So you got to just find what works for you.
Yeah, totally true. And that you've got to go through the grind of doing a bit of everything at first, so that you can then train a staff member how to do it for you, and that's when
Yeah,
it becomes a business and not a full-time corporate job for yourself.
yeah,
I want
yeah.
to talk about, firstly, congratulations on being pregnant. That's
Ah,
amazing. You said you have till the end of the year until you're
look, I mean,
due.
being in Australia, January is kind of a holiday, and I'm due in February.
Yeah, I know, right? It's yeah, no one does anything for a month. It's bizarre. But okay, so let's talk about that, because this is a situation I feel like a lot of people, male or female, will find themselves in, where they know they've got a time coming up where they're not going to be able to work for 4 to 6 weeks, whether they're traveling. When my wife had the twins, we I had to be on hand because there were two of them straight away. So I took about a month off work with
Yeah,
zero income. What
yeah.
sort of systems are you putting in place, and what sort of expectations are you having for your business for the 1 to 3 months you'll take off when you have your baby?
Yeah, look, I mean, first of all, maybe I'm a little bit different than other women. I'm like really the one, who enjoys my business, and I enjoy working with clients. So I will remain doing my clients, but of course, I'm not gonna be involved in the business development and marketing activities, because that's got to go and make some place for the actual baby. And then it comes down to your arrangement with your husband as well, and again, like you said, your financial situation, how much you can share the responsibility. But I'm building, or I have been building, a business that suits like, we want to go to Bali and work and live from there for 3 months. So like, I'm building a business that actually suits what I want from life. And that's really up to decide to anyone, like some people really want to have an office where they have a practice or be part of an integrative practice. So then that means, you obviously have some responsibilities around that. But we've just, because of COVID, learned to be a bit fluid over the last 2 years. Like I said, we've been forced into lockdowns. We had to do a lot of resort hopping for 6 months. And that taught us something, that taught us like, well, maybe that's what we want to just enjoy a little bit longer and be able to, build a business that can travel with us.
I think
Can
that's
be
been a really, really silver lining for a lot of people is that they've
yeah.
had to make their business, as you said, fluid, which is a word I love that. They've, situations forced upon them, people, had to figure out different ways of doing stuff. Like this podcast came out of lockdowns, and I used to do a podcast in person with a business partner, and then I was like, I'll just do it on Zoom with people, and it's been
Yeah.
amazing because I can talk to people all over the world we would have never met otherwise. And yeah, the fluidity and the fact
Yeah.
that we've all had to do everything online didn't work for everyone. You talk about having an office, right? My daughter is standing on a chair outside my window, right there, looking at me,
Yeah.
and she's yelling at me through the window.
Yeah, I
So
think, I think the main point is there to say like, and again, it's something what I've just really learned over the last 2 years that there's so many things that are outside of our control, right? And I can come up with right now with the perfect plan to say like, this is how I'm going to run it. But the truth is, I never had a baby and I don't know how I'm going to feel and I don't know, what's going to come. So I'm just going to, not stress about it and take it as it comes. Obviously have some strategy in place,
yeah,
but like it's like with everything.
all
We
goes out the
sometimes,
window.
yeah, because if we focus too much on it needs to be like this, we kind of miss out energetically on other things that could come into, you know opportunities into our business as well. And I think we sometimes go like, yeah, this program is going to be my money maker. But if we're so focusing on just that one thing and try to control that process, we kind of sometimes lose the to be open for other things to come in.
Yeah, I love this podcast because you get that is the polar opposite of what one of my guests previously said. You're saying, if you put the blinders on and just focus on one thing, you miss beautiful opportunities, which is kind
Yeah,
of how I think about life as well. This
but
other
I'm more
guy,
spiritual in that sense, so
I think it's lovely. Yeah, I think it's great. Something might come along. You never know. Like if you searching for a job, and I just want to work at this one company. There might be one floating over here that you don't even think about, and you miss out. That could be your opportunity. What this other guy said, Travis, who is a much more successful keynote speaker all around the world, he said,
yeah,
if
nice.
you go a what did he say? He said you go an inch wide and a mile deep,
Yeah,
rather than a mile wide and an inch deep. I guess meaning that you just kind of focus really hard on one thing and don't try and spread your attention over too many. But you're
yeah.
not really saying that, are you? You're
No,
not. You're
I'm
not.
not. What I'm saying is that don't obsess. You know how we set goals like, I need to do this. My 12 months goal is to make, I don't know, that much money with this program. It's about saying like, okay, my intention is actually, what is my intention? What do I want to achieve? And then let go of how to get there, but still take your actions towards like, yeah, look, I mean, you kind of start the process by really focusing what's next in front of you, you know and also
Mm,
open yourself, because our mindset lets us dream as far as what we believe we can achieve, right? And so I've got a masterclass that's about mindset. And one thing that athletes have to do is constantly set records for themselves that no one else has achieved yet. And that means they need to believe in something that hasn't been done yet, right? And that's what I'm sort of trying to bring in here, is that we limit ourselves by thinking this is how it has to happen and this is what I can do. And it's like just opening up to other opportunities, to other possibilities.
Yeah, that's really cool. The athlete example is really interesting. I heard about do you know the 4 minute mile story about Roger Bannister?
Yeah, yeah, I do
Right.
remember. I don't.
So basically, he's an English guy, and the story was that everyone believed it was impossible to run a mile in 4 minutes.
That's
And
right.
this one guy and people were trying for years, and then this one guy, Roger Bannister, tried so many times and finally did it.
Yeah,
And after he achieved it, like six other people did it in the next year. So it was just in him proving that it was possible. Other people did it, and because
yeah,
his mindset said, "I
yeah,
can do
yeah,
this thing no one has done," it became possible, and then
yeah.
everyone else could do it instantly.
Exactly.
That's a funny phenomenon. I guess you can elaborate on why that happened.
Look, I think it is because we can achieve so much more than what we think. We are really only, the mind is really our only limit. And you look at visionaries, they are entrepreneurs that have real visions. I mean, but perfect example is, the rocket, what's his name? The one that's going to the Mars.
Elon.
Elon,
Yeah.
like I love his mindset. He just is very like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. 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 No,
so
that.
like I mean, I read his book when he was a kid. He looked into the sky, and he already dreamt about it back then. But he never had that doubt that he couldn't. And so, what he did throughout life is just lots of small steps that he had that dream, and no one says that you can't achieve something if you keep at it. Yeah, it might not be everyone's dream to go to the moon or to the Mars, but we don't have to do if you can just bring that approach a little bit more into our business, in the sense like, okay, this is the vision, this is actually also understanding, why am I doing this, what do I want to achieve? Because is it just financial gains? Is it, freedom of choice? Is it because I want to make an amazing positive impact? Is it a little bit of everything? And focus more on what you're actually trying to achieve than so much, every little thing of how it has to happen. And we get caught up in it, right?
You do. Yeah. I think what you said before about having a vision but not being married to how you get there,
Yeah.
that can always change. If you say, the classic, I want $1 million business, that sort of thing, or even my first $100,000 business, that probably won't happen the way you envision it when you first start out, when you're 24 and you say, I want to be a millionaire. You're probably not going to do it in exactly the way you think, unless you're an athlete or something like that. In a coaching business, there's not going to be one thing that suddenly, breaks the bank and makes you a millionaire. It's going to be little steps,
Yeah.
like you said, like Elon. He's not thinking day one build a rocket ship. He's thinking like, day one, what's the best? How far away is Mars?
Yeah,
Little steps.
exactly.
Little, I'm sure he's got an insane calendar, but the little daily steps that get you there.
Yeah, yeah. I
Does
mean, I
does
would
any of
say,
this work with your three R factor? I want to learn about your
um,
3R factor, your sort of signature formula,
yeah,
how
yeah.
and why you created that system.
Yeah, look, I mean, the triple R fact is probably more a marketing thing, but really, my focus working with women is around identity loss, and women sort of getting lost in their life roles. And I've seen it just a lot, they moms, they wives, they give a lot emotionally. They sometimes, also working full time, and they kind of really let themselves behind, and often then end up again in stress or unhealthy pattern, and or the thing that we call midlife crisis or unfulfillment and all of that. So this program is really about taking time out for yourself and reconnect to yourself, learn actually that you do have all the resources within yourself, and understand who am I besides the mom and the wife and you know, all those masks that we're wearing every day, and find that joy and happiness from inside out again. Because when we live a more authentic life and we stand our ground, and you know, we bring that love back to ourselves, then you know, we show up better as a mom, and we show up better as a colleague at work, and because we're not stressed and we're not projecting our unhappiness. So that's the part that's about reconnection, and then redefining who do I really want to be, or who am I? And then, you know, what strategies do we need to bring into life to maintain a happy, healthy lifestyle? And of course, like a lot of that includes, you know, some core belief training and understanding where some patterns come through, but also, you know, digging some fun stuff around passion and purpose, and yeah, it's a bit of a journey to self-discovery journey.
Oh, I love it, and I love the name. It's a beautiful concept, especially women taking down the mask and not just saying, "Oh, I'm a mum." It's like you weren't a mum before. What were you before that? But
Yeah.
I'm a marketer. From a marketing sense, I love the way you've taken that big, deep concept, or three huge concepts,
Oh,
and
yeah.
said, "This is the triple R factor," because that kind of makes it so much more manageable and bite-sized for
Yeah,
people looking, and for people who are not really in the coaching space yet, who haven't really had that work done. If you said what you just said to them, be like, that is so
exactly.
much information. But you say, I've got my triple R formula, which is going to
Yeah.
help you to redefine, realign, and rediscover. Was
Yeah.
that it?
So
Yeah,
it was reconnect, redefine, and then yeah, realign. Sort of
yeah,
my most important is that, you know, you send off your clients feeling they've got the tools and strategies to maintain,
mm,
because you know, you don't want them to fall into the old place. But yeah, trust me, I think this is the hardest part, when the marketing part, to simplify things, because in your head it always makes so much sense, and then like,
yeah.
yeah, trying to align copy with people to where they are at and make it, you know, that's probably definitely a challenging part
I
for
deal with it
me.
every day with
Yeah,
coaches who know
yeah,
so much about the thing that they do, and
yeah.
then it's tough to realize that like the majority of people are not going to understand
What-
most of the words you've just said. So that's actually something I wanted to talk to you about, because you've got, like we said at the beginning, all these different modalities you can work in, so many different people you can help, and there's when you have so many different ways you can help people, it can be really, really hard, from my sense as a Facebook marketer, to create a marketing campaign, because with such a diverse range of people, it's really hard to make something that's specific and effective. So I always recommend my clients to pick a niche just for this one campaign, pick one sort of
Yeah,
niche, one specific skill or modality, just like you, the triple R formula for working mums, that sort of thing.
yeah,
That would be one thing to go down, because if you try and talk about constellation therapy and systemic
yeah,
coaching, all that stuff in once, it's overwhelming for them.
yeah.
How did you start off marketing your business, and do you find it easier or sometimes even harder to find qualified clients, given how universally helpful your programs can be?
Um, Look, I think this is something that I'm constantly redefining. You know, exactly for that reason, and because you know, at the beginning I said it was a lot about transformation, but I kept narrowing down my target market, but also it how, you know, when you work with clients, then you also get to know more their problems, and it's kind of part of a process a bit to really understand their pain points, and then, you know, understand how am I actually helping them. And so it's an ongoing thing, and I'm just in a process to do it again. So my website's going to go through a bit of an update now, and especially because I've been bringing in the systemic coaching. So you know, and so yeah, I mean, that triple R factor program is going to stay there, but there is a few things that I'm about to redefine a bit more, just to, yeah, make it less confusing, because and sometimes you're ready to let go of some things that, you know, kind of you have grown out as well.
Totally. Totally. It's like, you ever go to a restaurant and their menu is enormous and it's really, really hard to decide what to have.
Yeah,
But when they've got sort of
yeah,
four entrees and four mains, then
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
simple decision. Let's go back to that
yeah,
place.
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like just offering more as a coach is something you can do, but once your clients are already through the door, once they're in, I can help you with all this stuff. But from a marketing standpoint, like you said with your
yeah,
website, simplifying things
yeah.
is really helpful. Well, that's exciting. You're going through a lot of changes right now, Martina. A lot of
Uh,
stuff on the horizon.
yeah, look, I think it's just on a bit on a timeline right now. So I've yeah, but yeah, look, I think it's funny because then a year later you look at your website, you want to change that again, and it's kind of the balance where like, okay, is it really that important? Where do my clients really come? Is it more, they come word to mouth and referrals, and like you have to always keep everything, but you can also get really lost in all that small detail, right? And so it's a balance about marketing and strategy, but also not, if you constantly just work on your website and not really get out there and talk to people, then, you're also missing a little bit of that part. And that just depends if you're using just digital marketing or if you're using in-person, strategies as well, or referral partners and things like that.
Yeah, there's always that balance between kind of having online credibility and then just making more offers and talking to more people, I
Yeah.
suppose. And that's probably something that you figured out over a long time in business, that if you've got a minor detail that's outdated on your website, it's not going to take down the whole company. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah. And
no one cares about that stuff as much as we do, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
But
super cool.
definitely,
But
when you have the time, still, put it in.
Yeah, well, that's why companies like us exist. We know that most coaches, yeah, solopreneurs with one or two VAs, maybe you don't have time to do all this stuff. So we do the marketing for you. So done
Yeah,
done for you marketing, because we know that as a coach you get into it because you love what you do. You love to help people make an impact, have a cool lifestyle, but you probably don't love attaching your Facebook pixel into the header code of your landing page,
yeah,
all
no,
that bullshit.
yeah, yeah, and it's
But
also
I
not
don't like.
yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, it's also not easy to find those actual really the partners that understand your business and can you can sort of rely on. So it's about finding the right people as well, where you can really outsource things to. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
you're
Well,
doing a
and
great job.
well, we're the people that most coaches outsource a lot of their stuff to, but then we outsource some of the things that we do to other
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Some of my coaches, some of my clients, I'm paying them for coaching while they're paying me for marketing at the same
yeah.
time. It's bizarre. It's we're
Good.
all good at different stuff, right? On that last bit,
Yeah.
do you find now that you're becoming more, you seem so energetically aligned with the task that you're doing?
Mhm.
How do you make a decision about which clients you do and don't work with?
Um, well, I mean, I do have obviously a script I go through in pre-qualification calls, but commitment is number one thing. I mean, like it's a when once a client's ready to actually pay and is committed to themselves, it usually works. It's more trying to not waste your time with the pre-qualification process. But,
Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. In your space, that as soon as someone says, "Yep, I'm all into this transformation," then that's going to work.
yeah,
Amazing. Well, like I think that this sort of conversation, because of how many arms there are to your business, it could go on forever. But you've given us some amazing info today, some really great nuggets. I was going to talk to you more about sort of business and marketing, but I love the stuff you talked about systemic coaching. I thought that was so interesting.
thank you.
Constellation therapy. I really, really would love to see, when your website's all updated with all the info. I'd love to see it because that stuff fascinates me. Transgenerational stuff, past lives, or whatever it is. Really, really exciting stuff. So,
Yeah.
Martina, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And yeah, we're going to share all your links and socials and everything in the posts about this show. Direct some people towards you, because you never know who's going to be listening, who might think that Martina is the one for me. So thank you so much once again, and yeah, congrats again on your impending child.
Yeah, thank you.
It's everyone's got a plan until you've had 2 hours of sleep, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
it'll be interesting to see what happens. You'll be fine. There'll be a lot of love in that household, I can
Yeah,
tell. So
yeah.
anyone who's watching live or listening, thank you so much. If you're on the recording, we love you equally to bits. I'm going to be back next week with some amazing new guests on Coaches to the Moon podcast. Until then, thanks for watching. Much love and peace out.